Hello, everybody. Hello. This is HQ in the house. Now, this is about that war. This is about where they love to take us for no good reason. They love to take us, and they did it willingly and took us to war. Okay. And this is my whole speech about it. There are very few things that can shake a nation more deeply than being led into a war. War changes people's lives. It changes family. It changes the future of our country. But when a nation is taken into war, the public is supposed to be told the reason why. Because the people who fight, the families who sacrifice, and the citizens who pay the cost deserve that honesty. And when the explanations begin to shift, like they do with this administration, when the stories keep changing, when the facts start contradicting the claims, people begin to wonder if something is being hidden from us. And we kind of know that that is the case. We just don't know what. So we're just going to take a couple snippets from what people have been saying for the past couple of days, right? We're going to compare these statements with what investigators and journalists are now reporting. Over the past several days, several senior officials, you know who they are, Rubio, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Karoline Levitt, each of them has offered explanation about the war, about a devastating strike in Iran that reportedly killed more than 100 civilians. Many of those civilians were kids. And you do know that's a war crime, right? We do know that's a war crime. But when you place those statements side by side with the reporting that we done got, now coming out from journalists and investigators, a picture is starting to emerge. They know what they're doing. They know what they are doing, okay? So we finna start with Marco Rubio. Let's see what Marco Rubio said. And you know something that was even wilder than what Marco Rubio said? What Pete Hegseth said right after Marco Rubio got done talking. Pete Hegseth said, Marco Rubio said, can I speak Spanish or something like that? Is Spanish okay? He said, fine. And Pete Hegseth, with his ignorant ass, gets up there and say, oh, I only speak American. So right then and there, that should have let little Marco know you ain't one of them. At least Pete Hegseth doesn't think of you as one of them. He said, I only speak American. What the fuck you mean I only speak American? Okay. After this man got through interpreting to the Spanish group. Sometimes they don't even think about what they say. They just be saying any old thing. Listen to Marco Rubio.
And the president has made it a personal priority. He's also president of action. It's why I believe he will go down as the most historic figure one of the most historic figures in American history, and certainly of the last 100 years, because of what he has been able to do and is doing right now with the Western Hemisphere. Thank you for your bold leadership. It's an honor to be able to serve in your administration. And Mr. President, 2 points I want to make. The first is we have a lot of allies around the world, and we are grateful for our allies. And the countries represented here today, all 12 of the leaders here are allies, but they're more than allies. They're friends. At a time when we have learned that oftentimes an ally, when you need them, maybe may not be there for you. These are countries that have been there for us, and these are leaders that are not just allies, they are friends, and they are always willing to work and cooperate with the United States, and we're grateful to them.
All right, let's break that down, that goofy shit he just said. Marco Rubio is standing next to the president and telling an international audience that Donald Trump will go down as one of the most historical figures in American history, possibly the most historic of the past century. Now, think about what the hell he said. The past 100 years includes presidents like Franklin D. Roosevelt during World War II, Dwight Eisenhower during the Cold War, John Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Ronald Reagan during the final years of the Cold War. Yet this goofy Marco Rubio is putting Trump above all of them? Why does this matter? Because when political leadership becomes surrounded by praise and sycophants and people just giving you good news, telling you you're the best, telling you you can't do any wrong, telling you this is the way it should be and there's no fault in what you're doing, something is going to disappear. And that something is scrutiny over the behavior, scrutiny over the action. And right now, scrutiny is exactly what is needed over this administration, because this administration's explanation about war, and particularly the strike on that school, has already begun to shift. Okay? Now, let's listen to what the president had to say about this strike. Let's see. Hold on. Uno momento. Hold on. Let's see what he got to say about this strike. Because I can tell you right now, nobody else could have did that strike. We're the only ones that all have Tomahawk missiles. Okay? Besides maybe 2 other countries. But we're the only ones that have Tomahawk missiles. Okay? Here's the president.
Please, go ahead.
There's a footage that shows that an American missile strike and a Tomahawk missile likely destroyed that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I
for that
haven't
strike?
seen it. And I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more. But whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
See, his response suggests that Iran may have carried out the strike. He says a Tomahawk missile could have been used by other countries, possibly Iran. This is where the contradiction begins, because the Tomahawk is not a generic missile. It's a long-range cruise missile developed by the U.S. and deployed primarily by the U.S. Navy, typically launched from American destroyers from sea, a submarine, or a ship, guided using terrain matching navigation systems that compare the ground below with preloaded targets images. We're the only one that has that. Weapons analysts who reviewed the strike footage say the missile seen in the video appears consistent with a Tomahawk. Could Iran have launched that Tomahawk? Maybe, but they doubt it very seriously. The evidence is starting to narrow as to who had this Tomahawk. Listen, we're going to listen to Goofy. Why I keep calling him Goofy? We're going to listen to Hegseth. We're going to listen to Hegseth, because he's always good for some bullshit. Excuse my friend. Hold on. Let me get to him, because he always come out with something. He always say something goofy. You see, because he's so uncomfortable with his own skin. He always says something weird. Hold on. Here you go.
Single strike is assessed to this campaign here. No nation in the history of warfare has ever attempted in every way possible to avoid civilian casualties. And frankly, that's a point that just isn't appreciated enough. Where things happen that need to be investigated, we will investigate to the question shouted in the back, that it's not Open source is not the place to determine what did or did not happen. We take things very, very seriously and investigate them thoroughly, which takes time, and which is why it does take time. But ultimately, unlike Iran, who targets civilians indiscriminately, who we've seen in the intel moving rocket.
You see they trying to spread the bullshit. You trying to say Iran is hitting people indiscriminately. Iran is doing the indiscriminate thing. This is what they're trying to pour to the American people, like they didn't do what they did.
Launchers into civilian neighborhoods, near schools, near hospitals, to try to prevent our ability to strike. That's
near schools, near hospitals.
How they operate. And then they set, the targeting of drones and missiles toward civilian targets, hospitals, hotels, airports. CENTCOM's been very good about putting that information out. That's how terrorist regimes fight.
See, the statement about no nation in history of warfare has ever attempted to even in any way possibly avoid civilian casualties like the United States is a lie. Okay, it's a lie. They've struck more than 100 civilians in Iran. We're getting reports in that there's over 100 U.S. citizens, soldiers, I guess. I don't know whether on bases or whatever, that have been struck and have died, and they're not being honest about that. Okay, something needs to be clear here. Mistakes can happen in war. We get that. Military operations rely on intelligence, satellite imagery, targeted data that may not always be perfect. We get that. But my understanding is people are whispering about war crimes. Okay? War crime. In this case, the school that was struck was located close to a Revolutionary Guard facility, a naval facility, my understanding. So that kind of proximity can complicate targeting those decisions. We get all of that. But we're going to find out who it is who targeted that naval Revolutionary Guard facility. And I'm pretty sure that it was the United States. But they're going to pretend like it's not them. They're going to pretend like it was, who was it? Iran? They're going to pretend like that. We understand exactly what you're doing. Okay? We understand exactly. Let's listen to Karoline today. Karoline Levitt. She's always good for a hoop. She's a soldier. That girl definitely is a soldier, because she definitely going to come out there and lie her way through and don't care what nobody say, because she going to come up with the lie quick as hell and people believe her. Hold on. Here she is. Come on, Miss Karoline. All right. I can never get this straight. Okay.
That's what President me be very. President Trump signed a landmark executive order upholding the promise of Title IX and ending this dangerous and unfair practice. But now it's time for Congress to codify this into law. Number 5, the Save America Act bans transgender mutilation surgery for children. Again, President Trump signed a common sense executive order to do this and kept his promise to the American people, but now Congress needs to do the same and codify it. It's well past time for Democrats in Congress to stop perpetuating the radical and false claim that you can somehow change a child's sex. You cannot. Passing the Save America Act is the most important thing that Republicans and frankly Democrats can do to strengthen election integrity and protect our democracy. It's what the American people elected Republicans to do, and they must deliver on it as soon as possible. The president is calling on Congress to get the job done and send this historic piece of legislation to his desk immediately for signature.
Well, that won't happen, because we're not gonna disenfranchise a whole bunch of people. That's just not gonna happen. They need 60 votes. It won't happen. So I don't know why they keep calling for it. It definitely won't happen before the midterms So I don't know why they keep calling for that.
So with that today, I will take your questions. Benny, thank you for being here, and why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Karoline. So my first question is actually about the Save America Act. So one of the biggest things that the Democrats are saying, the claims that they're making, is that the Save America Act, it would prevent married women from voting in elections or make it harder for them. What do you have to say to those claims? Is there any validity to them, and where do you think they're getting this from?
See, this is what I don't like. I don't like when reporters are smarter than what they're pretending to be. I don't know who's in that room. I don't know who all those people are in that room, but this is why we say the press we can't trust the press. You can't trust people that are in that room. Nobody in that room can you trust, because everyone in that room is being disingenuous. Everybody in that room is lying to the American people. The young lady over there on the right-hand side in the screen, she understands what the hell she's talking about. She's a reporter. She understands what it means to disenfranchise married women. That's the problem with the SAVE Act. That's the problem with the SAVE Act. People keep saying, why don't the Democrats want to sign it? Because if you sign it and you put it into law, that means every person whose driver's license doesn't match their ID or their birth certificate are going to be kicked off the voter rolls. That includes all of those married women. Okay? All of the married women that got married since they've been on, from the beginning, since their birth certificate, and they changed their name, are going to be disenfranchised. That's the whole point. It would be a different story if you just said everybody has to have an ID. That's not what the SAVE Act says. People keep saying, why don't the Democrats want them to sign a SAVE Act? Everybody needs an ID. If that was the case, they would have been done signed it. But if you're a married woman, you get kicked off of the voter rolls until you prove X, Y, and Z. And then a lot of people don't know that. And it's called a poll tax. When you have to go and pay money in order to be able to vote in any way, shape, or form, it's called a poll tax. And the poll tax is in the Constitution as being unconstitutional. So in the Constitution, it says you should not have to pay a poll tax in order to vote. Going to get a driver's license because you want to vote. Going to change your name because you want to vote. Going and buy your birth certificate because you want to vote. Those are considered poll taxes. That's why people saying you're going to have to pay in order to vote. And that's illegal under the Constitution. That's why people keep saying it will disenfranchise people. Stop telling Democrats to sign something like that when it will cut millions of people off the voter rolls. And we've already been over the fact that voter fraud is not significant enough for you to even worry about this particular thing. Voter fraud doesn't happen like that. Okay, even the Heritage Foundation said it doesn't happen like that. So there's no point in everybody getting thrown off the rolls and then we all got to start all over again. At least the women would. No, stop it.
There is zero validity to these claims, and I'm glad that you brought them up because you have.
So let's hear the spin. Let's hear the spin of why Democrats don't want to sign the SAVE Act. I just explained why we don't want to do the SAVE Act. It would throw a whole bunch of women off of the rolls because their name is not the same as their birth certificate. Okay.
The Democrats,
and it's a poll tax,
to have created this myth, and it has been perpetuated, unfortunately, by many in the mainstream media. Let me be very clear. The Save America Act does not prohibit anyone from voting with the exception of illegal aliens. And the greatest way to disenfranchise American citizens from voting in American elections is to allow illegal aliens to vote, which is what Democrats want to do. We see it take.
And that's a lie. And only a goofy would believe that. You can't vote if you're an illegal alien. I've already went over that. I had a show about that. Had a show about why they can't vote. why they cannot vote. There's too many factors involved for them to be able to vote. Okay?
taking place.
Not to say that they don't try to vote, but it's always caught somewhere. There's too many checks and balances. Stop it.
In Democrat jurisdictions at the state and local level across this country. So the Save America Act corrects that. And as far as married women who have changed their name, if they're already registered to vote, they're entirely unaffected by the Save Act. And for the small fraction of individuals who have changed their name or their address, they can still register to vote. Of course, they just have to go through their state processes to update that documentation. And this is something that the American people.
And the whole point of it is not to have illegal aliens vote. Illegal aliens don't vote in numbers enough to change elections. How many times do people have to say that? I don't understand it. I don't get where the slowness comes in. I don't get where someone tells you they don't vote enough for them to make a difference in the election. They don't vote at all unless they're very good at getting in and doing election. Signature has to match. The timing has to match. The person that you're impersonating has to not have voted. You have to match the name, the ID, all of these things. Why would a person who's an illegal immigrant try to vote? I don't understand what's going on. Why would they try to vote? That's just a way of getting yourself arrested. That's just common sense. Why the hell would I voluntarily go somewhere where I would be committing another crime and then I could get caught and then they would definitely come to my door? It don't make sense. Y'all have to think these things through, because when you hear it, and you hear this you hear this in my comment section. Oh, you Democrats want illegal aliens to vote. No Democrat on this planet has ever said they wanted to see a illegal alien vote. But why is it that us Democrats understand that illegal aliens can't vote, that illegal aliens are not voting in numbers that would make a difference? They're not going to make a difference. They would never make a difference. They've never made a difference. So stop saying Democrats want illegals to vote. That's not the case. They can't vote. So we don't worry about that kind of thing because it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But this is the way in which Republicans do this every election cycle. Every election cycle. You need to go back to every election cycle and you will hear the Republicans, oh, they gotta get this passed so the illegal aliens won't vote. Have you ever heard of any illegal aliens voting in mass, in large amounts? Has anybody heard of them voting in large amounts? I would love to hear it. I would love to find out where they voted in mass like that in the future, in the past somewhere. You will never find that anywhere in the past. So why do they keep saying it every year? The Republicans keep saying it because they know when they know their policies are shit. And when people find out that they're full of shit, people change their vote. And that's why you have a lot of people voting Democratic, because they're not offering anything this year except voter suppression, trying to voter suppress, trying to get people not to vote, trying to get people to get knocked off the voter roll. Oh, it's time to kick people off the voter rolls now. Oh, it's time to pull out the bullshit about illegal aliens voting. Somebody show me 1 year of voting in which there was a whole bunch of illegal aliens that voted. I bet you can't, not one person in this doggone chat show me one place where they voted in mass that would make a difference about anything to do with voting, any kind of outcome in mass. I challenge you. I challenge you.
People, married women, and minorities, and people all across this country who Democrats are insultingly saying cannot do this, they're already doing it every day, going to the Social Security office, going to the DMV. And I think it's frankly insulting that the Democrats are saying that there are certain groups of people in this country who aren't smart enough to update their documentation.
Not to mention the fact that it's considered a poll tax. I don't understand.
To allow them to vote. Again, this is a huge myth, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to address it.
Of course, and then just one more question about DHS. The funding issue has been 3+ weeks now. I was at the airport this morning in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was early in the morning, and One of the TSA agents, I saw her, she was kind of tearing up, she was crying, and I asked her, I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I can't make my phone payment, I can barely make my car payment that's coming up. I think a lot in the Beltway, there's so much noise between Democrats, Republicans. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. But what is the White House's message to the American people that are struggling because they're not getting that paycheck? It's take away the politics. What do you have to say to those people?
President Trump wants the Department of Homeland.
Let's hope she can speak and say something without mentioning the Democrats or Biden. Let's see if she can speak without saying anything about those two things.
Homeland Security. He wants TSA, he wants FEMA, he wants the brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard to receive their paychecks, and he wants this department to be fully funded and fully reopened. And so to any American out there who is struggling without a paycheck, we know there's more than 100,000 of you across the country. To any American out there who is showing up to an airport and facing incredibly long wait times and lines, call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do. And it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering as a result of these partisan games that are being played by Democrats on Capitol Hill.
Told you they can't do it. You listen to her every day. Every day, this woman gets on this panel and lies about the Democrats. Every day. I will bet anybody. Every day she gets on here and tells a story or any kind of thing. She cannot go any kind of press conference. They cannot take accountability. That's why they lie to the American people. They can never take accountability for the failures that they're doing. We are a year and a half in. We are a year and a half in, and this administration still cannot take accountability for what they have done. Still, it's always Biden, it's always the Democrats. It's never we should have done, we can do, we will do. It's never about that. It's always about Democrat. And this one in particular, that's why I consider her lying Karoline Levitt, because lying Karoline Levitt doesn't want to take responsibility for her part and why this American public is in the state that we are in right now.
Thank you. Steve.
You said the operation was going faster than anticipated. What is your current timeline for how long the war will last?
So look, as you know, Steve, the president and the U.S. military's initial timeline was about 4 to 6 weeks to achieve the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury. Again, to destroy their missiles and their ability to make them, destroy their Navy, permanently deny them nuclear weapons forever, and to, of course, weaken their evil terrorist proxies in the region. We know that the U.S. military and our brave warfighters are quickly and expeditiously executing these objectives well ahead of schedule. But ultimately, the operations will end when the commander-in-chief determines the military objectives have been met, fully realized, and that Iran is in a position of complete and unconditional surrender, whether they say it or not.
Does the president still want Iran's unconditional surrender?
Well, when President Trump says...
See, y'all do know that Iran told us to go fly, right? The president said, the war is going to be over, or the war is basically over. Iran told Donald Trump to go fly. You just killed a whole school full of kids. Somebody just killed a whole school full of kids. You gonna go fly. We ain't listening to the jack shit. You gonna go fly before we give in. So now we're in a war. I don't want to hear the bullshit from anybody talking about, we ain't in no war. We just having a military action. Fuck you. We in a war. We are in a war. This is what Republicans do every time they get into office. If you saw my community posts, every time they get into office, they pass tax cuts, they crash the economy, and then they go to war. All 4 presidents before this did the same thing. All 4 presidents before this did the same thing. Crashed the economy, passed tax cuts for the rich, and got us into goddamn wars. Because this is what Republican presidents do. Okay? True enough, this goofy president got into this war because Benjamin Netanyahu pulled his ass into that war. We didn't need to be in this war. But even though he got pulled into the war, he should have resisted. Every other president resisted. After Georgia, nobody wants this war. Nobody wanted this war. Okay. So why are we in this war? Why is there not enough pushback to say what the hell is going on? And then the Republicans in Congress don't want to hold this president accountable because they had that War Resolutions Act. I guess they put that on the floor, and then the Republicans said, hell no, we ain't gonna do that. So who's gonna hold these people accountable? Is everybody willing to be in a war for the next year or so, or maybe even longer than a year or so? Because we're going to have boots on the ground soon enough if we don't have boots on the ground right now. Okay? And nobody said anything about boots on the ground before we started this war, because I'm pretty sure people would have said, hell no. But now we finna get boots on the ground because the Iranian people said, you Americans go fly. We don't give a damn what you say, how you say it. You bomb some kids. We ain't stopping. Now we on this holy war shit. This is wild.
That Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender. He's not claiming the Iranian regime is going to come out and say that themselves. What the president means is that Iran's threats will no longer be backed by a ballistic missile arsenal that protects them from building a nuclear bomb in their country. I could make an empty threat, but if I have no actions to back it up, then it's an empty threat. And so President Trump will determine when Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender, when they no longer pose a credible and direct threat to the United States of America and our allies.
Them people said we ain't surrendering. I don't know what she talking about. I don't know what she talking about. The other reports, other journalists is saying them Iranian people say we in it to win it. We in it to win it. I don't know what you talking about. You can go ahead with that mess down the road. We ain't surrendering nothing. And they pulling other countries into it. How many countries is into this? How many people know how many countries is already mixed up in this? 7, 10, 13? What the hell? They can look. If you have an enemy who ain't afraid to die, who ain't afraid to take everybody with them, you ain't winning nothing. You can't do nothing but lose when this person is willing, when they willing to go under. And why did you bomb them? Why did you bomb them in the first place? Y'all told us a couple months ago that you all had decimated their whole stockpile. That's what you all told us, right? You decimated their stockpile. Then you come out and you say, oh, we got to get them. We got to get that stockpile. We got to bomb them. We got to do all that. So which one was it? Were you lying back then when you bombed that first time? Or are you lying right now? See why we don't believe what you have to say? You see how that, sure enough, I didn't say Iran was winning. I didn't say anything about winning. I said we're not winning. Because what we thought in our arrogance was we would bomb them and they would surrender just like that. Iran said, oh, no, that ain't happening because you came over here and you're the aggressor. And most of the world looks at us as though we are the aggressor. So what did we win when we went over there? What did we win by starting a war with Iran? What did we win? The only thing that we needed to do, only thing we went over there to do was to stop them from getting weapons of mass destruction or stop them from building a bomb. But I thought we had already did that. See, I can't believe anything this president or this administration has to say because they lie. They change their story every day. Okay. It's changed every day.
Adriana.
Can you explain why the Energy Secretary posted and it appeared to have deleted a post on X saying that the U.S. Navy escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
And if this was something that was posted erroneously, could it be because of a staffer? What, I guess, will there be any consequences for this? I know you still have to consult, but generally speaking.
Again, I would defer you to the Department of Energy to answer that question.
And if I could just follow up really quickly.
Sure.
In terms of oil sanctions, the president said that there would be some sanctions that would be lifted. Would those be on Venezuela, Russia? Could you give some specifics there and then timing for that as well?
Sure. I know it's something that the Treasury Department and the president's energy team continue to discuss, and they will ultimately consult with the president before decisions are made. I don't have any announcements on new sanctions or the lifting of new sanctions for you today. Alex.
Thank you. Reuters has reported that.
See, the thing is, they're speaking as though this war is. Nobody said anything about this war being over or run. The president is saying that. Nobody else is saying that. The president is saying that. Okay. But we can't believe you because you all lie too much. Nobody is over there talking about victory. I heard they were taking out our satellite. I heard they were taking out our communication system. I heard they were doing X, Y, and Z. So what about those things? What about that 100 or so Americans that we heard have been killed over there? What's the real deal? Can we honestly trust this administration? Can we honestly trust them because they're not telling the truth for real?
That about 150 U.S. service members have been injured so far. Can you confirm that number and elaborate on that?
I can't confirm the exact number. I know it's within that ballpark, but I would defer you to the Pentagon for a specific number of wounded or injured thus far.
And then secondly, if I can, I wanted to ask about, there was a briefing on the Capitol Hill today, and some senators came out and said they were more convinced than ever that there was the U.S. boots on the ground. Senator Blumenthal said that. In fact, your reaction to that and any update on President Trump's thinking about it?
Look, I would say that Democrats on Capitol Hill are clearly being quite disingenuous. 3 years ago, not a single Democrat voted against the resolution condemning Iran as the world's leading state sponsor of terror. Yet now, with President Trump as commander-in-chief finally taking the action that so many Democrats have called on the commander-in-chief to do for many, many years to wipe out the threat of a rogue Iranian terrorist regime, now all of a sudden Democrats are playing politics with this long-standing bipartisan policy of the United States,
what we're asking is why now? What happened to pull us into this war now? People keep saying, well, they were chanting death to America. They've been chanting death to America since I was a kid. They've been chanting death to America since I was a kid. So what are you talking about? That means nothing. What was so special that made them start that war last week? What was so special about it? We haven't seen the evidence because they haven't come and they haven't presented it to the UN. They haven't presented the evidence to Congress. They haven't presented any kind of evidence. Okay. I haven't seen anything that says, oh, they definitely have weapons of mass. You said they had them last year. Now they don't have them. They had them. They didn't have them last year. You bombed them. Now they got them. What's the truth? At every turn, we hear a lie one way or the other. At every turn.
53 of them in the House recently voted against the resolution condemning Iran as the world's state sponsor of terror. So I wouldn't take Democrats at their word. As for boots on the ground, the president has talked about this repeatedly. Wisely, he does not rule options out as commander in chief. So again, I would hesitate to confirm anything that a Democrat on Capitol Hill says right now about the president's thinking. Garrett.
Karoline, you outlined to Steve the military components of what would be involved in ending this war, but it seems like there's a political component too. The president said to Fox earlier today that he doesn't believe the new Ayatollah can live in peace. He made a variety of comments suggesting that he should be involved in picking the new Iranian leader. Is the ending of this war also contingent on Iran selecting a leader that the president finds acceptable? And if so, how is that?
Wait a minute. Why did this president assume that he gets to make these decisions? You don't get to make these decisions. You ain't making those decisions. They have already picked a new leader. According to them, the leader is even worse than what the last leader was, his son. So how in the world do you get to pick a leader? You're nowhere near picking a leader. We're nowhere near done dealing with Iran. When they got attacked, when Iran got attacked, they decided to attack nations outside of America. They really wanted to attack America. They understand that Israel dragged us into this war. They understand that they got dragged into this war by Israel, that America got dragged into it. We just had to happen to have a goofy president that put us in the middle of another war when he lied and said he was never going to put us into a war. Okay. But we knew it was coming. From his first administration, we knew he was a warmonger. We knew that. This was part of the reason why people said we didn't want him as our president again, because he was going to help start wars again in the Middle East. And what happened? Every freaking 5 months, we're in another war. It's some kind of skirmish with somebody.
Not the definition of a regime change war.
Look, as President Trump has blatantly and frankly stated, it's obviously within the best interest of the United States and the West to no longer have a radical terrorist in charge of Iran, especially as we see their reaction to Operation Epic Fury. They had their missiles turned towards our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. Again, this was a regime that chanted, or still chants, death to America.
You see, they're still trying to make a case. They're still trying to make a case for war instead of going to Congress where they knew they would have been stopped. They decided they were going to walk out in front of a fucking microphone, because all of them love the microphone. All of them get in front of the microphone to lie. They were going to jump in front of a microphone and decide they were going to lie to the American people to get the American people on their side. Because a lot of goofies believe in everything that they're spouting out of their mouth. Oh no, he said we weren't going to go to war, but it's okay now. We can go to war. It's okay. Donald Trump said, let's go to war. Let's go to war. Oh, they've been chanting death to America. You didn't hear that, HQ? HQ, they saying death to America. They've been saying that shit since I was a kid. And yet none of them had the balls come over here and do anything, which is wild. So they found a goofy president because Joe Biden wasn't going. Obama wasn't going. Trump tried to do more in his first term. We knew he was trying to do more because he did more, did some bogus shit when he was president then. So now we're back in the middle. Now we're in the middle. How many wars we at? How many wars did this president start so far?
We look at the way that they are holding the entire world hostage with the restricting of the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. So the president, I think, is making quite an obvious comment. Again, as for the timeline of the military operations with respect to Iran, we have objectives that we have laid out that the commander-in-chief wants to see achieved. When they are achieved, then it will ultimately be up to the president to end this operation.
Okay, so I think you're not exactly addressing my question, though. Is that political objective also necessary for the president to decide to end this war?
Look, again, I just told you the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. When those objectives are met, the president will dictate the end of these operations when he deems that Iran no longer poses a credible threat to the United States of America. And again, it goes back to what does that unconditional surrender look like? Iran can talk all they want, and their words will be very empty when we've completely annihilated their Navy, as we are doing, when we've taken out the threat of their ballistic missile capability, when we can firmly, finally ensure that they can no longer make a nuclear bomb.
Don't that sound like warmongering language? It sounds like warmongering language to me. It sounds like they had this planned all along. It sounds like they had every intention of going to war since the beginning of this administration. Okay. To me, it sounds like they were preparing for this. Okay.
To threaten the United States and our allies and our troops in the region. And that's what President Trump is ultimately seeking to do with respect to this operation. Jennifer.
You don't get to bomb first because you think somebody's going to bomb us. That don't make fucking sense. That means you're the one who started the fight. The bully has been calling my name all week. I'm finna come over there and get you, HQ. Really? You finna come over here? Then come on over here. But you never make it. You never quite make it to the edge of my yard. I'm gonna get you. You never quite make it to the edge of my yard. But one day I decide to walk out my door and walk across the street and punch you in the face. That means I'm the one who started the fight. That means I'm the aggressor.
There was a shooting outside of a synagogue in Baltimore. Do you know if the president has been briefed on that? And do you have any more details on what happened?
I don't, but we certainly will get you more details, Jennifer. And I don't know if the president has briefed, but I'll check on that when I get back to the Oval Office after this. Sure. Thanks, Karoline.
No, I don't care how you stop listening to that man. Stop listening to Donald Trump. He's the one who walked into somebody's yard and punched them Iran in the face. They have been rattling off at the mouth all for years. And that Benjamin Netanyahu been rattling off at the mouth, talking about we gotta stop Iran. They gonna threaten our way of life over here in Israel. Don't nobody give a fuck about what your way of life is. Ain't nobody came over in your yard and started no shit. But you dragged us into your shit. You scared that you finna get bombed. Israel scared that they gonna get bombed, so they pulled us into their shit. You pulled us into your shit. Okay.
The president said yesterday for the first time that he had to strike Iran because he believes that Iran was going to strike U.S. targets within 7 days. And then he bumped that down later to 3 days. Where is he getting that?
Hold up. You don't get to keep throwing October 7th in people's face for years, saying they attacked us on October 7th, so we gotta attack it. No, you don't get to keep throwing that in people's face. Okay, we understand October 7th, but you don't keep saying because of October 7th we got to do X, Y, and Z. You don't get to keep saying that. Okay, you got your lick back. Stop it. You got your lick back. Stop it.
Well, that's not the first time the president has said that he chose to launch Operation Epic Fury because he felt as though Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region first. Again, I addressed this in the last briefing. This was a feeling the president had based on facts provided to him by his top negotiators who had been engaged with the Iranian regime in a good faith effort. The Iranian regime was lying, deceiving the United States of America, clearly trying to continue their nuclear program to create a bomb that would, of course, threaten the United States of America. Again, their ballistic missile arsenal, they were rapidly and aggressively increasing that by the month to a place where...
Then you know what? I know they lying because remember last year that Gabby, what the hell is her name? Gabby, that inconsequential INS person. What the hell is her name? Gabby something. Gabby something came out. Remember when she came out and said, Iran don't have no nuclear weapons. They ain't finna have no nuclear weapons for years down the line. We ain't got to worry about them being a threat. Remember when Trump told her, get your ass in the house. Remember when she came out last year, right before they tried to do that strike on Iran the first time, and she said, they don't have no nuclear weapons like that. They're close to it, maybe 60%, or maybe less than that, but they're not close to that. And then they shut her ass up and told her to get in the house because we ain't talking to you no more. We ain't letting you talk no more. They were lying back then. They
would essentially build immunity for themselves where a future president or President Trump would not be able to launch this incredibly successful operation. And so the president, again, as I've reiterated, and he has said, was not going to sit back and allow the Iranian regime to threaten or to attack the United States of America any longer.
But there are no U.S. leaders or Israeli leaders who are making those same claims. So is he making this up to justify his decision to go to war now?
See, even these reporters know what the hell I'm talking about. They making this shit up as they go along because they're lying to the American public. They're lying about the justification for war. That's why this reporter is asking that question. She's saying, is he making it up just to validate him going to war? Yes, he is. Because the president has been lying.
The president is not making anything up, Nancy. He is looking at this every single day based on intelligence, based on facts, and based on intelligence that he himself and his negotiators have consumed based on their, again, negotiations with the rogue Iranian regime over the past year. And the president and his team tried in a good faith way to reach a diplomatic deal through peaceful means with the Iranian regime. And Iran chose this path to death and destruction. Iran wanted to attack the United States of America, and the president was not going to sit back and allow that to happen. He was not going to sit back and allow that to happen, and everyone in this room should be grateful for it. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions for you. One has to do with a follow-up to your statement that you made at the beginning of the briefing regarding the Safe America Act.
Sure.
Yesterday, the Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke on the effort to potentially have a filibuster broken, the rules for the filibuster broken. He said the votes aren't there, one, to nuke the filibuster, and the votes aren't there for a talking filibuster. He says that's the reality. What's your reaction to what Senator Thune said?
That's reality. They're not going to break the filibuster, so therefore you're not going to get any of the legislation that you need 60 votes through. You're not going to get it through. That's basically what the Republican senator who's in charge says. Nobody's breaking the filibuster, which basically means I think Republicans have 52 people in the House. They have 50, however many they have in the in the Senate. They're not breaking the filibuster, which basically means ain't jack shit getting through for them to do anything. But there's plenty of things to do. If we as Democrats take back the House and the Senate, which looks increasingly well like we might get that Senate too, oh, you can believe there's going to be an impeachment. There are going to be some impeachments up in that piece. And there are going to be a lot of things that change up in that. But the whole point is, this is what's happening right now with the world. We have liars that are in the White House right now.
Look, I think President Trump, the urgency behind his need to pass the Save America Act and his desire to get this country-saving legislation passed has been made quite clear. He wants all options on the table, and he wants the Senate to move as quickly as possible through whatever means necessary.
And then secondly, just regarding the president's trip tomorrow, looking ahead, why Ohio and why Northern Kentucky?
Well, why not? These are two great states with great Americans.
Just wanted to know why they were chosen.
Great states with great Americans. The president will be joined by lawmakers from both states who he greatly admires and respects and supports. And he'll be meeting with business owners in both of these places and talking about the economy, which is
the whole point is to stop listening to this administration, because this administration is lying to the American people. Even the reporters are asking, why did you say X, Y, and Z if it's really X, Y, and Z? Okay. All the goofy MAGAs, I'm not going to jump on you MAGAs, but you MAGAs need to read the tea leaves. You need to read the tea leaves. You need to read the polls. I don't know what you need to do. I don't know why it's such a narrow-mindedness on your part. I don't know. All we know is the tide has turned severely, like in a fucking bobby pin shaped way. Okay, back towards the Democrats. And if we take the House and the Senate, if the Democrats take the House and the Senate, this president and everybody in this cabinet is going to be impeached, which is only fair because you took us down a road in this. You took this country down a road where we didn't need to be. We in a war. Gas prices are skyrocketing. Food prices is going up. Nobody's getting any kind of relief. The only person that got anything out of this deal, anything out of the big beautiful bill, was the rich people. Nobody else got anything out. Everybody else got the shaft. And this president has been scamming from day one. Scamming the American people, scamming the American public, scamming people overseas, stealing Venezuelan oil, all of these things. Okay. And this is where we're at. And this is why I put, why won't this administration stop lying? Because they can't. Because they know that this president has done unconscionable things to the American people. And there's a group of American people that get snowed easily. I mean, that's the MAGA cult. They get snowed easily and they believe everything he tells them and they believe everything they hear. The rest of the people have woken up because the circumstances have gotten so bad that they had to wake up. Now, currently this investigation is going for this bombing. This is considered a war crime. What has happened is considered a war crime. Okay. And the White House is saying it's under investigation. Okay. The president came out and blindly said it was Iran. That leaves several unanswered questions, though. Was this school mistakenly thought of as a military compound? Okay, because it devastated everybody. Everybody in there, nobody lived. Okay, nobody lived. Okay. The whole point is they're trying to hide what they did. They're trying to hide what they did. And that's fine, but we can see right through it. We can see right through it. Investigators, journalists, all had intelligence assessments that said the United States is the one who did this, which basically means they committed war crime. So, and seeing as how they're going to continue with this war is going to last. I don't know how long. I'm assuming they're going to put boots on the ground in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm assuming that. I can make that assumption. You all said, the president said, we're devastating all of their resistance. We're doing all of that. So they're devastating all the resistance. And this is not about, what is this about? What did they say this war was about? This war was to devastate their nuclear arm, all of their arsenal, all of these things. Okay. If that's the case, then you should stop right now today. Okay. They should be stopping right now because the president came out and said it was done. Okay. And seeing as how we're going to be dealing with the repercussions for years to come because they closed the Strait of Hormuz and that pulls in 20% of the world's oil, we're devastated because of that. And they have to recover. They have to recoup. You think they're ever going to forget that we bombed them because Israel wanted us to bomb them? We bombed them because Israel wanted us to bomb them. Israel was sitting in Donald Trump's ear. I truly believe that Benjamin Netanyahu has the goods on this president. I believe he has the goods on this president. He knows what's in those Epstein files, and he's using what's in those Epstein files to make sure that Donald Trump follows his lead, follows his ass down the rabbit hole. And seeing as how he's our president, we're going down that same rabbit hole. Okay? Because they're trying to They're trying to justify this war, and there is no justification for this war. It's not strong enough. The justification is not strong enough. But every time Benjamin Netanyahu comes to the United States and visits Donald Trump, we always end up doing something fucked up. This is Operation Epstein Fury. What is that? Oh, shut up, Julian. Operation Epstein Fury. This is where we're at in the world. Our president is the bitch of Israel. And we just have to go along with whatever they feel like they want to do. Because we never, Donald Trump, I'm sorry, I just have to say this. Kamala never would have got us in the war. Kamala would have never put us in a war where we would have had 200 soldiers, 150 American soldiers dead. She never would have got us in a war. Not like this. It just is what it is. Now we in it to win it, and we got to win it. But there are no winners in war. It's not justified at all. But here we are. Here we are. Okay? So please hit the like, share, and subscribe. I have content like this every day. I'll be back later on, of course. Because I'm sure somebody said some goofy shit that I just ain't found, right? But just remember, these people have no reason to tell the truth to the American people because it's already done. They have already they have already went to war. Now it's only a matter of time of whether we have to put boots on the ground. We don't know whether we have to put boots on the ground or not. We don't know. But it's clearly becoming where they got to make that decision. Because this young lady right here on the screen, when somebody asks her about going boots on the ground, she don't have no solid answer. She says it's not, people take things off the table. She said the other day, a lot of presidents took things off the table, but this president didn't take boots on the ground off the table. That tells me there might be boots on the ground, sure enough. So this is where we at. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I appreciate it. I'll be back later. Who knows what's going to happen before the night is over? I told you at the beginning, when this president became president, that this chaos and this headache never ends with this president. It's always something goofy, devastating, out of the ordinary when this person becomes president. I said that at the beginning, and it's been true ever since. Drama, drama, drama. See, a lot of people don't like drama. Most people don't. I don't understand why people are putting up with this drama from this president. Every day, drama, one thing or another. It's never steady. Okay? And I remember saying that when he got elected. I said, this is going to be a roller coaster ride every day, and it's going to be something bad every day because this president is a person that likes drama and he likes to stir shit up. And here we are, after listening to this president tell us on the campaign trail, no wars. And here we are in the middle of wars. I see you guys later.